as automotive DIYers, it can be tricky when it comes to what tools to get. So that brings us to the big topic of, as a DIYer, are power tools really necessary? Is it something that you should get right off the bat, or are there other important things that you should invest in, whether it be that you want to make videos on YouTube or you just want to save a little bit of money? What power tools, if any, should you even get? Because there is a ton of marketing. I think there's actually a show right now, I believe it's in Pennsylvania, where Milwaukee and a bunch of other tool companies are doing like their demos. And I think Milwaukee had their pipeline event where they released a bunch of tools not too long ago. And also the holiday seasons are coming up. So we're going to see a ton of ads, a ton of sales that are going to promote things not that are just Milwaukee, but we have other power tool companies out there like DeWalt, Rigid. There's also Flex is kind of making a splash onto the scene since last year. And so do you really need it? I mean, do you even need something that might seem basic like this? And I would say if you're just starting out, the answer is no. You don't necessarily need power tools if you're a beginner that's just starting to do DIY projects. And the reason why I would say that is because when we're looking at your kind of skill set in the very beginning, when you are a beginner DIYer, you're not going to be doing anything super crazy like suspension or dropping the subframe or anything like that. You're going to be doing very easy jobs, routine jobs that there's a lot of reference material to go off of, like oil changes, brake changes, coolant flushes, things like that are what you're going to be starting out with. And for that, you don't necessarily need a power tool that can break off a very tough bolt, because most of those things don't require you to undo a fastener that's really set on, unless there's something like rust. So although it can make your workflow faster, it's not something that you need in the very beginning. What I would say is something like this. Now, this isn't exactly my tool drawer, but the great thing about power tools is you can think about it as an enhancement. It's going to make everything that you can do or that you've been doing better or faster, or it's going to alleviate some of the stress that you're putting onto your body, such as having to undo a suspension bolt that's torqued down to 100 or 165 Newton meters. But you can still do it all by hand. So when you're just starting out, I would say invest in your socket set first. Invest in your socket set as well as your wrench set. And I would say start out with a 1/4-inch drive. A 3/8 inch drive set first. That's where most of your jobs are going to live. That's where, if you're just starting out, you're going to find the most useful for it. And I do recommend Tecton set, the same set that I have. I think it's like $180 right now. Let's see what it is. And it will also include, I think it's metric from 6 to 24 millimeter, as well as standard from 1/4 inch to 1 inch. And you get everything that is the deep and shallow set. Let's see if they have a side by side here. Well, all the ones that are facing up are your shallows, and all the ones that are standing up are obviously your deeps. So you get this whole set: wrench, extensions, wobble extension or swivel, as well as a breaker bar for $180. This is going to solve most of your problems out there. If you're a BMW DIYer, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest bolt that we have on most modern day BMWs that you could probably encounter when you're just starting out is your oil pressure sensor. That's a 24 mil, and that is covered in this set. So that's the good thing about this, is that it's going to cover you. And then if you decide to go into the aftermarket scene, a lot of vendors will use standard or imperial sizes. So that's where your 1/4 inch to 1 inch will benefit you. The other good thing is that you have the breaker bar up top and a 90 tooth ratchet. So for most things, I feel like up until like the last few years, all I had was just a fixed head ratchet just like this. Nothing fancy like a flex head. Flex head would have made it easier. Swivels and rotary heads would have made it easier. Even 90 tooth like this would have made it easier, but I was probably functioning out of a small, husky, blow molded case for a long time that was passed down to me. And, you know, the mechanism was much bigger than the Tecton, and I didn't have a breaker bar. I had to use a cheater bar. So this set for $180 is going to take you very, very far into the future and cover everything that you need right now. So it's great that they have this all-inclusive set that will get you through most of your DIYs. So that's what I would say. And then after that, you could pick up something like, I mean, that's even going to cover your wheel sockets, honestly. From there, you also have to consider, do you need storage or do you need a cart? You know, I'm not sponsored or anything by Milwaukee. It's just a picture that I had on hand. But when you're working on your car, working out of a blow molded case in the very beginning is fine. But when you have to run around the car or you have to pick everything off the floor, it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of bending over, standing back up, and it can be taxing over time. So having even something simple like this, I would say just go to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has an even cheaper one here. And let's see. The service cart at Harbor Freight that I would honestly recommend when you're just starting out, like if you don't have that much, like if you only have like maybe a couple $100 or barely $100, you could just wait for something like this to go on sale. And, you know, you have a drawer, you have an open area here for like your blow molded cases. If you can't buy tool organization, this is probably what I would recommend, because you can put your blow molded cases, no matter how tall they are. If you end up getting a bunch, you could stack them the tall side up so you have no clearance issues. And then you have a nice work area over the top. And if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of weeks, when they have their big parking lot sale, not the 5-drawer, but it should be their 4-drawer that's going to be on sale soon. Let's see here. So I think this is $219 right now. I think when it's on sale, it's like $160 or something. Just go on YouTube or search up Harbor Freight parking lot sale October 2023. And you'll see what the sale price is. And the good thing about this one is that it closes up and you can put on all sorts of attachment like this work table here. And you have the open area at the bottom. So you don't necessarily need a bunch of like socket organizers, wrench organizers, pliers organizers. You can put your pliers in the drawers and then you can keep your sockets in the blow molded case down here. And then as you kind of build up your collection, you can put the socket organizers up top. So it doesn't need to be something super fancy like the one that we have over here. Just starting out, like I said, I didn't even have that much organization. I was working out of the blow molded case, kind of bending over and picking things up off the floor, as I was alluding to. So if I can help anybody go through some of those hardships, if you will, then I would definitely like to do it. And this is what I would say, like, if you're, especially for those of you who are working on BMWs, you know, that's kind of my bread and butter. I can't speak much to other cars, but if you have that Tecton socket set that I was recommending earlier, and then you get something like a gear wrench set that goes up to 24, and they have various mechanisms of 70 tooth, 90 tooth, 120 XPs, which is my preference. But I think the 90 tooth, if you can get it on sale, is probably like the best middle ground. And for wrenches, especially ratcheting wrenches, I just say go to Gear Wrench. They're like one of the best bang for your bucks. Usually wrenches, unless you're going with like a Gucci brand, whatever you pay for the wrenches is usually a fair price. It's not really like an excellent value unless you catch it on sale or something like that. But Gear Wrench, I would say it's a tremendous value in my opinion for what you're getting. Not just in the size ranges that they give you from like 6 or 8 to 24. I think there's a couple of skips in here, but you don't really miss like the 20 or the 23 that much in automotive, at least in the BMWs. And as a beginner DIY, you really don't need those bolts, if ever. Having just that size range, as well as a 90 tooth mechanism or a 72 tooth mechanism for a company that's been doing it for a very long time, that's not going to charge you so much for it, but also have a high quality mechanism in the ratcheting head. I think Gear Wrench is one of the few ratcheting wrenches where you get a little bit more value than what you're putting in. Combine that with a very basic eTorx and Torx socket set, and you're pretty much able to turn, I would say, like 90% of the bolts on here. I mean, unless you're talking like you're going to do your differential and you're going to take off that 50 millimeter fastener, this is pretty much going to cover you. Like, this set right here is really good. If you think about it, like even on the suspension where you have to have a counter hold, well, you have your sockets that have every size doubled up. You have a ratchet to hold on one end, a breaker bar on the other. You're good to go. And if you prefer, you could have your wrench as your third size in the same category. You don't necessarily need an Imperial wrench set. A lot of the times there's a lot of crossover with Imperial to metric, especially if you're wrenching. Like, it doesn't need to be exact. Like, close enough is fine. Like, if you're off by less than 1 millimeter, it's good enough. And then if you can get a socket on it, then you do have the Imperials with the Tecton. This is what I would recommend. I believe, like, if you really wanted to get the 92, even if you wanted to go with like the flex heads and spend a little bit more, I think the Gear Wrench, let's see here. Oh, I can't get on. Okay, let's see here. The Gear Wrench set, the one that I'm referencing, if you wanted to get the flex, so I'm kind of like highballing it here, but $289 is with the flex head that goes all the way to 24. Yep. I would say you don't really need it. Like, you could get a standard set like this. I believe this is still the 90 tooth mechanism. Let's see here, 72 tooth. Okay, you get 72 with a, oh, we can still go cheaper actually, because this is one where you can switch it off or switch the direction, and that's 213. But we'll say like the high side is 300, and let me see here, 60 piece. Let's see what this one is. Goes to 24. We have a 72 tooth. Let's see, buy it now. Okay, I'm in incognito right now. Let's see. I hate it when they do that. I wanted to try to pull up the most real time in terms of pricing as I could. That's a 12 piece, 213. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 180. Let's see here. Oh, 129. Okay, so you get 129, pairing that with 180, so we're just over 300. And this set right here, let's see, I think it's like $20. Honestly, it's not that much. Yep, 20 bucks. So you're probably close to like 350 all in. And we can look at the power tool prices in just a second, but all in, you're about 350 right here. This is going to get you by for 90% of the DIY stuff. We're talking brakes, oil, all that stuff. I would still recommend that you get a torque wrench. You could do something like Harbor Freight's torque wrenches. You get like all of them for like 30 bucks when they're on sale. And so for less than $400, you have an entire set of like wrenches, sockets, Torx adapters, and torque wrenches for under $400. I would say if you do like 3 or 4 oil changes, the tools pay for themselves. If you do your brakes, it definitely pays for itself on the first job. And then anything else along the way that breaks that you fix, it's just an add-on. Because a lot of shops now, a lot of BMW specialty shops are going to charge about at least $100 to $200 an hour because the dealerships are charging $300. So we're talking about 1 hour's worth of labor, and some is pretty much most of this tool set. Other things that I would say that you should consider are going to be like plastic trim tools, a little pocket screwdriver set, as well as pocket pry bars. You can do like things like pliers and actual screwdrivers, but you can get by on like a basic bit set with a 1/4 inch drive adapter or something like that, and that can get you by. You could also get by on when it comes to this, like these tools right here, like these small stuff and the plastic trim tool set. It's very useful when it comes to not marring things up and to get into tight places. So I think on the back of these blue screwdrivers here are going to be a magnet. So again, very helpful tool. Just this is like one of the things that you never really think about until you really need it, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for it. I recommend this to like anybody. Pliers, I would say just go ahead, same thing, Harbor Freight, wait until you get a sale. If you guys follow me on Instagram, on my story, I think I got a set of their pliers. Let's see here. When they were on sale, I got if I'm not mistaken, so I got their pliers. I picked up their 10-inch, so this was $20, but I paired it with like I think a 30% off coupon when it was like anything under $20 is 30% off. So I got these 10-inch pliers right here that are kind of like a Knipex knockoff, but for, you know, less than $20. What do you expect? And it's a small wrench too, so you're not going to be, you know, putting it on anything that needs that much force. Hopefully, this 8-inch for $17, and then I also picked up the 3-in-1 slip joints, and yes, it was $18, and you still get the 30% off. And I think the last thing that I picked up was these hose pliers. So I got 4 pliers for $60 after tax. You know, California and tax. So, you know, if you're not in California, this could be $55-ish, but under $60, right? So that could get you by for a while. I feel like that's a fantastic deal. All of those tools, everything that we just went over is backed by a lifetime warranty, with the exception to this stuff here. You know, trim tools are a wear item. These pocket screwdrivers and pry bars are a wear item. But the wrenches, these e-torques and torque sockets, as well as your 6 points, all have a lifetime warranty. With Tecton and Gear Wrench, I believe you just fill out their online form, and submit it. I never had any issues with Al Tools yet, so I don't know what their warranty process is like. When it comes to Harbor Freight, you just walk in, you show them the broken item, and you go get another one off the shelf. Simple. With the only exception is if you get the icon sockets, like if you get anything that is a set from Harbor Freight, to the best of my knowledge, you have to return the whole set. So say, for example, if this was a Harbor Freight wrench set, if you wanted to warranty out the 24, but you were missing the 10, they wouldn't warranty it out unless they had like an open box item on the floor. A way around that is, and I hate to say it like this, is just buy a brand new set. You know, if you have a credit card, put it on your credit card, take your broken one, switch it in the set, and then tell them, hey, this one's broken. That way they just take the whole set and then you get the good one, right? I would say, like, you know, you can look at it ethically however you will, but if they're only willing to warranty out one tool in the set if you return the whole set, then I kind of don't see the harm in it. I believe that only works for their, I believe you only have to do that for their icon tools, but their Pittsburgh stuff, I think is you can just walk in there, and if they have one on shelf, they just take it off, if I'm not mistaken. Other things to consider. When you're working on your car, you're going to definitely want a jack and jack stands, something reliable. Harbor Freight had that whole recall a while back, but their Daytona jacks, I've been using them for the better part of 2 years now. And I had their Pittsburgh jack for like 7 years before that. Like their basic model set, they upgraded a few times already. And I do like this style of jack stand just because it's easier to level out the pin, and with the ratcheting one, it's hard to know exactly where it's at when you're looking at it from across the way. The Tecton split beams, I would say if you have the disposable income, go with the 1/2 inch first, because that's going to be your wheels if you work on wheels a lot. Otherwise, I personally like the 3/8, and I find myself using it more because all of the strut bracing, the top plate or camber plate, the shock mounts in the rear, a lot of your 13 millimeter fasteners are going to be at that 28 Newton meter mark, and just having something that's like set all the time like this is great. I would say if you're going to spend money on a torque wrench though, let it be the 3/8. You can spend something a little bit more and get something like a digital one. You don't have to get the gear wrench. I wish that they could, in a firmware update, or if they just released a new variant where it doesn't have the indicators go off at the 50% mark. If they had it go off a little bit later, like when you're closer to 80 or 70, that would be great. But 50, it's just way too early. And having a digital torque wrench is nice because with a traditional twist style spring loaded torque wrench, it's not going to be as accurate at the lower end because there's not as much tension on the spring. So generally, I think it's something like you don't want to operate within the lower 10 to 20% of the torque wrench, but you could go to the max capacity because the spring has the tension already. It's built up. So there is kind of some discrepancy on which one is better. I would say spend the money, get a digital torque wrench for your 3/8, and then everything else could be a spring one because you are not really in that range all that often. And then as you kind of do your jobs, you'll figure out, okay, I'm willing to take this to a shop. I'm willing to do this at home. And then based off of that, then spend your money on a torque wrench that's either 3/8 or 1/2 inch, depending on what you like. But I will say, if you're going to spend the money on a 1/2 inch, I would say, again, not sponsored by Harbor Freight, but their torque wrench, their digital one, their Quins are good too. I use them for a long time. So if you wanted to get that, like if you wanted to get, you know, this one for $179, this one for $164, wait for it to go on coupon, I think you get like an additional $30 or $40 off of this price, then that's a good option to go with. You don't have to worry about twisting it or winding it down every single time. But if you're going to spend the money, again, I would say wait for this one to go on sale. This will go on sale. I think you get it for like 25% off if you're lucky sometimes. So that could be, let's just say, what is that? Close to, depending on if you get the 20, the 25 is rare now. 25 is, it doesn't come around that much, but you could do like the 20%, and that's going to get you, it's going to knock down the price about $70, 60 something. And then you have to pay the tax too. But I would say I like this one much more than my Gear Wrench 120 XP, even though that this mechanism is only a 72 tooth. The indicators on it right there, it has the light up bar, it has the screen will light up and give you the numeric value, it will beep, it'll vibrate, it'll give you all the cues, and it doesn't start to go off until you get pretty close. And the lighting indicators, the light bar, is pretty spot on. So I do like this much better than my Gear Wrench, and I actually got rid of that when I sold it and picked this one up. And I couldn't have been happier. I still use my Tecton for all of my wheels, but for everything else, it's like half inch, like my suspensions and stuff. I lean on this torque wrench so much, and I have no regrets picking it up. So that's what I would say that, you know, you should consider getting before you step into power tools, which if you do, I can recommend like what I have found valuable. And for me, it has been the, how come it's not coming? There we go. Like the starter kit that we showed earlier, like this isn't a bad set. We'll look at that. This is what I was looking for. I wonder if they still sell their original one. If they still sell the original, yeah, like this is fine. You don't need the high speed. And let's see, I use that one a lot, and because Milwaukee just released their new one, this one, oh yeah, it's on sale already. It used to be like upwards of $300. Let's see what the kit will include. But since they have the new one, I'm not sure if that's the new one, but the prices have gone down. So $229, let's see here. Or is that the new one and this is the old one? Oh yeah, this might be the new one. Let's see. Okay. So having a basic M12 set like this, like in the beginning, I thought that this was great. And then as I kind of progressed, I very seldomly use this. I use them for like odd-ended jobs. Like I probably use the drill driver more than the impact, just because there are times where, like, you know, when I needed to do the fender roll and the holes of my tool weren't big enough, so I had to get a hole saw and drill it out. I use the driver for that. And I just don't use them that much. There are times where like I kind of use it off camera for like some odd-ended jobs, but I just don't use this that much. And at $229, it's not a bad value. When it goes on sale, it's even better. And let's see, you can pick a free gift. What's the free gift that you can pick? Ooh, okay. For $229, I take it back. For $229, this is, I would say this is what you could do. This is going to get you through a lot. $229, you get the ratchet, which is this one that I was going to recommend. That's already like $150 with the battery and the charger. I think standalone, you could get it for like $80. But if you're going to pay 80 for this, for an extra, what is this, 140, you get a driver, you get a 1/4 inch impact, and you get the drill driver too, with 2 batteries versus 1. Or if you're thinking about just like, what do you get for the 140 extra? You get, I think this is a 3.0 battery. So better capacity, same charger, and you get a better case or a bigger bag. So I should say. So for $229, this is a pretty good deal. There are other ways that you could hack it. Like you could get like a more expensive tool, whatever is the most expensive. And then when you look at the breakdown, in the cart, they charge you $90 for this. Like if you only really wanted this, or if you only wanted this, you could return it, just, one of these, and then you would only, you get refunded, this amount here. And I would say like, that's fine. Like some people are like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. If it's okay, if it's, if it was such a big deal, Milwaukee and Home Depot wouldn't allow people to do it for year in and year out. I think that they're kind of, in tune with what people are doing when it comes to hacking these tools. And it's part of the sale, right? Potentially some people will try to do the hack and they end up using the tool and loving it and they keep it. So it's kind of like a try it before you buy it type of thing, maybe. Or they know that sometimes people might forget, or they get the set because they think that they need it, but maybe the drill driver and 1/4 inch is good enough and they don't need the ratchet anymore. So they return the ratchet because the ratchet was just there as a safety net if they needed it, but ended up not needing it. So great for 150. I mean, if you did it for 150, to me, this is a no-brainer. At $70 more, you're getting 2 more tools and a battery. Now, this one, let's see here. If I'm not mistaken, this is their new one. $279, $379. That's the deal. So I would say hold off on that. There's a specific one. So in the product details, we'll know. $27.67. Yep, this is the right one. So this is the exact same impact that I have, and they're giving it to you with a battery and the tool. So you would have to get a charger as well. But you could, there's always like these Home Depot deals where they give you like the battery, the charger, something like this. We'll look at that in a second. But as far as like the big bolts, like we're talking suspension, wheels, things like that, this is what I rely on. I probably don't get out of this, and so let's get rid of this because this is the new one. This and this is what I use most of the time. If you're going to spend money on power tools, get these two and call it a day for a while. Save your money until you can get more. Now, I do have other M12 stuff that I use, like their 3/8 inch impact, and I feel like that's a luxury. Like it's a nice to have, but if you told me that I could only have one M12 and one M18 tool, basically a small power tool, and one big power tool, my big power tool would be this and my small power tool would be this, just because of its form factor and how easy it is to kind of spin off bolts and stuff like that. And you can combine these with all the sockets that we were talking about earlier when you get a 3/8 version. This one only comes in 1/2 inch, but you can get an adapter for that if you really wanted to. And, for, I guess, liability purposes, you should only use impact sockets on an impact wrench. So the chrome ones you shouldn't use. Yes, you do have a lifetime warranty. However, for everyone's safety, I mean, we all know what really happens, right? But, because I'm putting this out there for safety reasons, I don't recommend putting chrome sockets on an impact wrench, right? For safety reasons, if it breaks, like if a impact socket cracks, usually it cracks or it breaks and that's it. Chrome can shatter. Not necessarily the metal itself will crack and shatter like glass, but the chrome finish can kind of like it'll move farther. It could embed itself in your skin or something like that, or your eyes, and that could be an issue. Let's see what we can find out here. I'm pretty sure that they give deals on the old one. Let's see here. Yeah, so I have this one, but in a 3/8 version. Again, it's a luxury item, and I picked it up on a hack deal. So if you wanted to, let's see if they will let you do it here. See, and they do all this stuff like with sockets. So if you're going to do it, I would say just go to Home Depot, see what they have on sale, and then go from there. Okay, they're not right now. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is only a 1/2 inch. Let's go 3/8. And if I get a free tool, what's the free tool that I get to pick? Boom. Let's see how much this costs. $3.29. That seems expensive. Oh, I have the other items in the cart still. Let's get rid of this. $3.29. Okay, that looks a little better. So, remember this was 150 before, so is that right? 150? Yeah, 150. So I think this is, tax is not included yet. So for 180, you're going to get the same 2 batteries. You're going to get the charger, but you're going to get what I would consider is a more useful impact wrench. Now, this will struggle when it comes time to remove your wheels. However, it can remove most of your suspension. It struggles anything above 100 Newton meters, but if we're talking like 100 Newton meters and below, this can buzz it off, no problem. So if you wanted to go 329, what was this before? This was 229, this set. So for $100 more, you're going to get a tool that I would say you're actually going to use. You're not really going to use the drill driver that much unless you plan to do a lot of refab work. $329, and then again, I would say go with that. Go with that first, and then get this. Like, this is, you won't use it all the time, but you will be grateful for when you do need it. This is kind of like, no questions asked, this will get it off. If it doesn't get it off, either change out the battery or make sure you're on loosening rather than tightening type of thing. Or there's significant rust, right? So I would say do this as a secondary. Sometimes they have a kit here where you have like the dual charger, like you have the charger that can charge the M18 and the M12. If you find this wrench with a battery and that charger, and you compare it along with this deal, call it a day. To me, again, you don't have to get Milwaukee. It's just what I use, so I can recommend it. I can't really speak to anything else, but we're going to jump into chat right now and see what other people recommended, so that you don't make, so it's not like you have to get just Milwaukee. You have other options too. Hey, Hyatt, how's it going? Hope all the renovations are going well and the car's treating you well as well. Did you get, I think, what are you chasing? 400, right? For your car? Soul Slinger, how's it going, man? Long time no see. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. When you texted me, I was in the gym, but I am actually going to check out that playlist that you sent. I'm always looking for like good kind of like background music, especially when I'm editing videos. So thanks for the recommendation. I have power tools, but I don't use them very often. Mostly for disassembly, I use my manual tools for installing. Those plastic trim tools are awesome, by the way. Right on. Okay, good. For those of you who don't know, Soul Slinger is actually like a professional mechanic in so many different realms, not just automotive, but aircraft as well, in with boats too. So for him to say that those Harbor Freight plastic trim tools, which when you get them on sale, it's less than $5. If he recommends them, I recommend them, then I say that it's a surefire bet that it's a reliable tool and a great value. And that's great insight too. Power tools are great for disassembly. The thing that I like, and the reason why I say I like the ratchet more than most things, is because with an impact wrench, it's easy to break something off. If you plan to use it for the assembly portion, which he's very smart that he uses his manual tools for assembly because it's less likely to break. But the 3/8 ratchets, they have so low torque and they're really good at like spinning on and spinning off a fastener that it's very unlikely that you'll damage it unless you're not fully seated on the fastener. So it can make assembly very quick. It's just not going to tighten it down all the way. But that's what we have the torque wrenches for. Even when taking things apart, I'll manually do it as not to destroy stuff. So that's, again, very smart. A lot of people who just get into power tools, sometimes they're not very careful. They will, put it on, it's uneven or it's at an angle, whatever it is. And then when they kind of gun it off, they will, round off the fastener. Another thing that I've seen a lot in the comments is some people will say, oh, when it comes time to tightening a bolt, you don't need a torque wrench. You just hit it, give it a couple of ugga-duggas, which isn't a scientific thing. It's kind of like a trigger pull. How long is the trigger pull? Is the battery on full charge? Is it not? There are so many factors into play when it comes to giving it the ugga-duggas that you're not building up consistency. One lug might be tighter than another. One person's car from wheel to wheel might be different. Or even if your battery has a good longevity, that means the wheels that you tighten at the end of the day are looser than the ones that you tighten at the very beginning. And if you're running a business and you're charging people, they're not paying for just the convenience of taking the car and having the knowledge of know-how. But the key part is I find disheartening is a lot of people on social media will say, oh, I'm a professional. I'm a professional. I do X, Y, and Z for a living, and I know what I'm doing. But I also know that what I'm not doing is tightening down the fasteners to spec. How can you guarantee your work if you don't know? You're charging somebody, you're putting somebody else's life in your hands. They're putting their life in your hands if you don't tighten down their wheels properly. And some people say, oh, you're overreacting. To a certain extent, maybe. However, you're the professional. They're paying for you to do it right? And some people are like, oh, well, you're not flat rate or whatever, this or that. It shouldn't matter how much you get paid, but if you call yourself a professional, be a professional. Don't call yourself a professional and do, DIY or backyard weekend warrior antics, right? This is my gripe. Is that people will say, oh, you don't need to torque and do angle when it comes to an axle bolt. The wheel lugs are going to hold it in place, all this and that. And in my head is, don't get showed up by the YouTube guy. Don't get shown up by the guy on TikTok. You're a professional. People should expect your work, your quality of work, your craftsmanship, your experience to be better than mine. I'm just a guy who researched stuff online, made a video, and posted it. And then you want to get mad that, oh, I'm I'm tightening it down to spec. I'm doing whatever the factory had done with the car when they put it down for sale. I understand there are some things that happen on the assembly line to keep fasteners in place. Like sometimes they put like a holder on like lug studs or lug studs in place so that it doesn't fall off the hub. There's some manufacturers that do that. So yeah, you don't need to put that back on. However, tighten things down to spec, right? You're the professional, not me. I would feel that if I take my car in, I would want somebody to treat it how I do. Torque it to spec. Maybe Soul Slinger can speak to that, or anybody else. How do you feel about that? The big one was when I did the M235i, the 228i, and I did the thrust arm. In order to do the thrust arm, you have to loosen the axle bolt in the front in order to remove it. And it's like 210 Newton meters and 90 degrees of rotation on a new bolt. And a lot of people said, oh, you just give it like 5 ugga-duggas and call it a day. Or even like lug studs, like, oh, you don't need a torque wrench, just 2 ugga-duggas and call it a day. Depending on what wrench you have, what brand you have, that ugga-dugga is going to be different. Hyde, I'm collecting Ryobi HP Plus tools. Ryobi's a good brand. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is that Milwaukee, or the brand that owns Milwaukee, I think it's TTI. They own Milwaukee, Rigid, Ryobi, and maybe Makita, but they own a bunch of them. So a lot of the R&D that goes into these tools initially are the same across the board. So like their reliability is great. They might just not give it the extra oomph as the top tier, which is the Milwaukee. The great thing about Ryobi is that the battery can be used with all of their tools. It doesn't matter how old the battery is, it doesn't matter how old the battery is, it can be used with their newest tool. That's their gimmick. So, I mean, that's great that you don't have to buy into a new platform. Hyde said, because I also do home renovations. That's right. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, check him out. He has a 228i, a red one, and he's on a horsepower climb as well as his home renovations. Oh, long time coming. I finally got a 1/2-inch digital torque wrench with angle. Right on. Hey, man, I mean, honestly, sometimes you don't really need angle. Most of the time, like if you reuse bolts, you only do angle on a new bolt. You don't do angle on a used bolt because it's already been stretched. Just torque it down to spec. If you want to do it like a little bit more, like maybe like 5 or 10 Newton meters more, fine. But you just hit the spec and call it a day on a used bolt. Things like and I say, like, some people are like, oh, you need to change out the bolts, like the suspension bolts, as far as the mounting bolts on the top for the front and rear struts. Those are 28 Newton meters. Like those bolts, if I'm not mistaken, they're grade 8 steel. Like they're good to be reused again. And 28 Newton meters is nothing. Sure, they've already been stretched. If you want to go up to like 30, go up to 30 and call it a day. I've been reusing those bolts for a long time. No issues whatsoever. Hi, my very first power tool was the impact wrench, but I use Cobalt. Hey, Cobalt's good. I think Cobalt is like one of the best value brands out there. Probably second to, I would say it's probably even a better, like, depending on the tool that you need, right? If you need the entire lineup, Ryobi is a great lineup because they have all the tools. But if you only need a couple of things, like what we just went over, like a ratchet, an impact wrench, Cobalt is a great value. Like they deliver a tremendous amount of power in a pretty affordable package, so long as you have a Lowe's near you, right? Chase, I have that US General 4 drawer, just got it, trying to start a good tool collection. Do you recommend any good but affordable tool / tool branch? Yeah, so just everything that we went over. If you get this right here, I don't know what car you're working on. However, BMW's, this is it. Less than $350 all in. If you're lucky, get on sale. You can go on Amazon, shop on like the used or open box items. Maybe you get it for less. This is a tremendous value. This will get you by for most things. So Tekton for your sockets, Gear Wrench for your wrenches. Owl Tools is like a no-name brand, but this little set that they give you for $20, no one's gonna really beat that. That's hard to beat. The value that's in here, and they give a lifetime warranty too. Hide. Yes, 400. I got a misfire on all 4 cylinders. Oh no, this evening I have no idea what caused it. Or new coils and spark plugs, but it started with MAF error code. Oh no. Misfire on all 4. It might not even be your injectors. It might be something else. Try looking up upstream. Check your fuses. Why would you have a misfire? Yeah, I guess it's tough. I would say when you scan it, whatever codes you get, go as upstream as you can, right? So what I mean is like upstream in the process, right? Because if there's a misfire in the cylinder, there's gas, there's air. If you have any codes that pop up along those lines, go there first. Do you have a leak? Is your fuel pump working all the way? Like start from there and then work your way towards the misfire. And generally speaking, unless it's something at like the pump, usually it's the cheaper way to go to. Like checking a fuse is really cheap. But I hope you figure it out soon, and congrats on getting that 400. Could be the MAF causing the misrun. Yeah, probably. Definitely could be. Battle Circuit Garage. What do you think about the Icon brand from Harbor Freight? Will you do any tool review videos? I've started. I haven't gotten good traction on it, but it's also because I haven't put out as much. Icon is good depending on what you get. Icon typically rebrands their stuff. So like Mayhew, Trusty Cook, pretty much all of their tools are rebranded from some other manufacturer. So if you can find what manufacturer makes it for them, compare the prices and see how easy it is to go through their warranty process. Yeah. Like I think last week I said like it's better to get the Tekton dead blows versus going straight to Trusty Cook because the warranty is better. So in those cases, it's worth it to pay the little extra bit of money because the warranty is better. For me, it's hard for me to get off of Tekton sockets, not just because I'm partnered with them, but because of the range that it gives you. So I usually recommend for DIYers Tekton sockets just because of the range. Icon, what do I have that's Icon actually? Okay, like the split beam. Like the split beam 3/8 are, I think, about the same price. So if you can find it at Harbor Freight on sale, let's see here. This split beam torque wrench, let's see here, 120 versus 100. This is 90 tooth as well, but the range is the same. So yeah, like this, I would go with Icon because of the price. Now, if you end up not liking the handle or the chrome finish, whatever, I mean, that's a subjective thing. But if we're just looking at the price and the functionality of the tool, this is a better value than Tekton. What else do I have? The Icon, like the pliers. Like I said, the pliers are great. It's a great value. I would say it depends too. if we're just sticking to the Icon brand, these slip joints are amazing. I really like them. Cutters for 17 bucks. Let's see what it is on Tekton. 19 bucks. And if you pair that with a coupon, like that's a done deal, right? Lifetime warranty. The grips look really meaty, but surprisingly, they're not as they're not as obstructive as I thought that they were. I actually kind of like them. But again, that's a subjective thing. Go in the store and see how it feels. I would skip on this and get the Doyles. For the similar price and the fast adjustable nature of it, it ranks second best in Project Farms testing, the Doyle pliers that I showed you earlier. So I would say go with that. I think this is overpriced. Pair this with the coupon. It's a good value. This is also a tool that you don't really need. It's like a great, oh, it can make my life a little bit easier type of thing. And if you have, a spare 20 bucks, why not? I would skip this. The needle nose, even though this is 18, it doesn't have a cutter on it and the reach isn't that great. I would recommend going with the 7-inch needle nose. This is actually what I have. So yes, it's a little bit more expensive than the Icon. Even if you do pair it with a coupon, it's going to be a lot cheaper. However, if you look at the jaws on this, you can see that the serration is very, very little. It's only right there at the tip. And then it's a smooth jaw all the way down with no cutter. The Tekton, you can't really zoom in on these pictures like that, but it goes down a lot farther. I would say just under halfway, you have the crosshatch pattern. And then you have a flat portion, and then you have the cutter at the end. So let's see if they actually give us a whole picture here. So I would say, like, if we're talking like 3 inches of usable space, I would say it comes down to probably almost half. I would say maybe 1.25 inches. And then you get the flat. And then this, oh, they don't tell you how much this is. You could say like a 1/2 inch. So let's say 1.25 inches. And 1/2 inch. So that's 1 yeah, so another 1.25 inches probably of flat. And it's slimmer. So like typically when you're using needle nose pliers, like you need to get into tight spaces. It's not just that it's a 7-inch, the head is slimmer, but the handles are slimmer too, so you can get it into tighter areas. These grips are pretty fat. Yeah. So when it comes to needle nose, I like my Tektons. But like I said, it really depends. I do recommend that torque wrench that we were talking about earlier. Even if we go back, let's see here. Let's go to the 1/2 inch split beam, 145. $140. Pair that with a coupon, it's a better deal. I would say that there is a possibility that the Tekton could be stronger because if it's a 72 tooth versus a 90, but lifetime warranty, you're splitting hairs, $5 plus a coupon. Yeah. Now, if you guys are into content creation, the extra $5 is worth it for me to use the Tektons. Again, I'm partnered with them. The satin finish makes filming a lot easier. A lot of the times for me, when it comes to like picking chrome versus impact or which tool should I use, I hate to say it, but a lot of the times it comes down to what isn't going to reflect harsh in the light, what's not going to throw off my white balance or going to cause a hot spot on the camera. So it's when I'm using my tools in the videos, I think of it, I'm also thinking of what's going to be easier for me to edit as well as do the job. So I'm thinking of both things at the same time. Oftentimes I do I will also use extensions and longer reach tools, like with longer handles when I don't need to. And it's not necessarily that I need that tool, but it's a way for me to get my hands out of the way and show it better on camera, like what I'm doing. So if you've ever wondered why like my hands are in a cumbersome position or why I use extensions when I don't really need to, it's mostly for the viewing aspect of things. It's for the video production aspect of it. You don't necessarily need all the extensions and the long handle ratchets or torque wrenches like I use. So that's just a disclaimer. If you ever see like my videos and you're like, why does he have his hand in that position? Or why does he use those extensions? He doesn't really need it. You don't. You could probably get it with a much shorter working arm and maybe no extensions than what I do. Just so that you guys know, you don't need the extensions to the extent that I use them. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer, Battle Circuit Garage. You also asked, well, I hope that answered this question first. Let me know if you think that I should do a couple more tool reviews. I'll post a link to one of my tool review videos. I would like some constructive criticism because it's definitely not hitting the audience the same. And I'm open to it. I definitely am. So let's see here. I've been using Hercules impacts, nice, impact ratchets in a professional environment for 2 years. And I have to say I am impressed. Sold off my Snap-on electric. Dude, you probably sold off one of your Snap-ons and you bought the whole Hercules lineup. You probably even had some change left over too. Dude, that's amazing. Using it in a professional setting, I almost bit on getting the Hercules set, but I think there was a sale. There was a sale exactly like what I just told you guys, where I got the 1/2-inch impact with the M18 M12 charger, and then I ended up just selling my M12 charger. I picked up like a hack deal where I picked up my my 3/8 impact. So I pretty much got the deals that I recommended you guys to get, but I ended up selling my ratchet, the battery, and the M12 charger to recoup some of the money, or I did the hack and got the money back that way. And so the reason why I wanted the Hercules is because of this tool specifically. Didn't pop up. This one. The 1/4-inch or the 3/8, it doesn't matter. But I wanted the extended reach. I wish that it was brushless. I wish that it worked a little bit faster. And blue is my favorite color too. So there is that. The other thing that stopped me from getting this is when Milwaukee came out with their high speed. You don't need it, but man, that thing, it churns real quick. And again, another like vanity thing, I suppose, on my end is because I create so much video and I don't really delete it, I just put it on a big drive. Being able to spin off fasteners quicker, a second quicker, doesn't make that much like space savings on my drive per project. But if you can imagine like the suspension bolts, the top hats, if I can loosen each bolt a second quicker, that's 5 seconds on that clip. 10 seconds because we have to do the other side. And then if we go to the rear, there's 6 bolts there. So now that is 16 seconds off of that job. So it helps me save space too. Plus, it's just an amazing tool. I love that tool. The high speed, I don't necessarily want to push for it because you don't need it, but man, I love that tool. But if they didn't come out with that, I was so close to doing what you did with my Milwaukee tools for the Hercules. And they came out with, where's the big boy at? Can you sort it by 1/2-inch? No. Where's their ultra torque? this is only the high torque, the extended reach. I mean, this to me is kind of like gimmicky. Like I would say just get an extension. But the ultra high torque, 189. Yeah, you have to get a battery and charger, but still, like this is punching way above its pay grade, close to the Milwaukee. At 229, yeah, you're getting a battery and everything, but basically that's the difference. The difference is the battery. And remember, this is Milwaukee. Like this wrench, it's only on sale, or it's only at that price because this guy's out. And so it used to be like 300, 350. So when you compare it to that, it's like $100 less. Oh yeah, here we go. 2767 at 329. Yeah, I would say it's pretty much worth it. So close. I actually, like, for people who aren't content creators, who and who aren't already invested in the Milwaukee lineup, I recommend this. I'm like, if you're just a regular at home DIYer, I've tried a few of these. This wrench is nice. I'm not gonna lie. The auto feature when it comes to loosening bolts is nice. Like that Milwaukee, the one that I have, it snaps. It really does snap. So a lot of people who aren't working on their cars a lot of the time, or people who like aren't ready to brace that impact, they like this more than the Milwaukee. My uncle actually has this, and we actually compared it. We had some of our family over. He showed it to me. He brought it over so that he could show me. And we had other people who were like, "Oh, I work on my car a couple times," so they tried both of ours, and pretty much, I think only one other person liked the Milwaukee other than me. They liked the auto feature of this when it came to loosening so much more. James, who makes a good non-split beam torque wrench? I've been looking at the Tekton or Harbor Freight, and I'm not sure any real difference between them other than price. Well, I think that if we're talking like the Icon stuff, I think the Icons, they're priced higher, but they do give you a little bit of a better value. If you go on, what's his channel? I think it's like Tools Torque. Let's see here. Tools Tested. This video, he does a lot of like torque wrench testing, and he said like the Pittsburgh ones are very accurate. Like if you're on a budget, like the Pittsburgh torque wrenches, the very basic ones, like these ones, tested very well for him. Definitely within their margin of error, and even like well below their margin of error. So like I said, you pick these up on sale for like $10 each when they're on. I think the parking lot sale that I told you guys about, it's going to happen in a couple of weeks. I think like all of them are like $11 each. So you could wait for that. The Icon ones are good. They have a 90 tooth mechanism. They feel smooth. They did well on that same channel that I told you about. Sometimes he said like they're not the best value for the money. However, if you want a 90 tooth mechanism, a flex head, these are pretty affordable with where they're at. Now, the great thing about the Tekton torque wrenches, if you decided to go with like this set here for like $165, it's like how readable this is. That's what you're paying for. Also, these tested very well on his channel as well. So within the margin of error, it's easier to read than most brands. So if you're somebody who would like something that's easy to read, Tekton is the way to go. You could go gear wrench. The digital one, like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I like the features. I don't like the indicator. Maybe I've heard some like kind of like halfway reviews when it comes to the 120 XP torque wrenches on the spring system. But the reason why I don't want to get those is because it's like almost the same price as the digital. So if you want a digital one for good value, you could go Quinn. The gear wrench, if you're willing to put up with the indicator. If you want a manual one, Tecton or Harbor Freight. There are a ton of other brands. Like you go on Amazon and like the split beam ones, like you just find out like whoever makes the split beams, I think makes them for like most of the companies out there. Just whoever has it on sale and has a good warranty. Chase, I have a 96 Ford Ranger, but I love the channel and wanting to get an E36 wagon. Oh, right on. Well, welcome, man. I'm glad that you find the videos entertaining. I can't imagine they'd be very, very useful for you. But hey, that's good to hear. I think you're the first person that I know of with a American car that tunes in. But hey, E36 wagon, man, right on. Classic. I had an old E36, not a wagon, a coupe, but amazing car. You just have to fix up those wear areas with the welding plates to reinforce the chassis, and you're good. Cheap car, lots of R&D in the aftermarket scene for those cars, so you'll have a lot of parts. You'll have a lot of research material to go off of when it comes to modifying the car. So that's a great platform to be in if you're looking to get into BMWs for the first time. There's so much information out there that you could pull from. Soul Slinger, E36 wagons are sweet, but just watch out for the ones with compressors under the spare tire. They tend to go out and the car slams its rear to the ground. Okay, I think that's kind of what I was alluding to. And Soul Slinger is already all on top of it. So, yeah, he's not just BMWs, but he's into so many other cars. We're very thankful to have him here with us. I feel like whenever I'm in a stuck spot, he always pulls me out. And so thanks, man. And good thing we were kind of on the same train of thought with that one too. That's also like where I get the confirmation of like, did I say that right? Did I get that part right? And then he chimes in like a second later. I'm like, okay, good. Hide. The key on powered tools is to have a powerful battery. Yep. Minimum 4 amp hour. As soon as I got the 6 amp hour from my Ryobi collection, I couldn't be happier. Okay, right on. Yeah, that's one of the good things is that they left room for those tools to get better by increasing the output from the battery. So that's an amazing thing that TTI did for their tools. Is even with the Milwaukees now, like even if you have an old Milwaukee, they just released their new battery and it can juice up the tools even more. So that's an amazing thing that just the battery technology can make the tool more useful and make an old tool more useful without you having to go out and get a new tool. You just get a new battery, which batteries are a wear item, right? Maybe your old battery is kind of on its way out. It's not lasting as long anymore, and you could just get a new higher output battery. Chase, gotcha, Soul Slinger. Thanks for the tip. Yep, Soul Slinger's the guy. If you find for a good deal and the rear is bagged out, you can install standard struts in the rear, but it is a little extensive. There's lots on the video. There's lots of videos on that conversion. Good luck with the search, I'm assuming. It cut you off. Right on. James, I've purchased a lot of Tecton tools because of your Tecton videos. I purchased a complete set of 6 and 12-point sockets in 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. Oh, the despair. And they're non-quick release comfort grip ratchet. Yeah, I'm not too big on quick release in general, just because when you're reaching in tight places, that button could get pressed and then there goes your socket. But yeah, since I even before, I think the way I got hooked up with Tekton is I bought some of their tools, I made a couple of videos on them, and then, the rest is history after that. They make amazing tools for the money. And one of the things that I love about them is they're trying to move as much manufacturing as they can to the United States. And sometimes, like, they're angled wrenches, right? They're angled wrenches like this, like the forging process behind them, or their manufacturing process, I should say, it's not as strong as a traditional forged wrench, right? It's not as strong as, say, like your regular combination wrenches. And these are made in Taiwan, right? So they are stronger. However, whenever you're going to use a tool like this angled wrench, you're coming at it from a weird angle. So it's going to be very hard for you to apply a lot of torque on it when you're calling upon a tool like this. So I think that they found an area where they can bring manufacturing back to the US at an affordable price point, because we all know that Snap-on can be expensive. But oftentimes some people will say that it's worth it. However, the gripe on this would be that it's not as strong as a typical forged. And then the counter argument is you're never going to be laying into it that much, which I think is a smart play here. You're developing a tool in the USA at an affordable price point that's not going to be beaten on like its traditional counterpart. And they've done this with like other things too, like their punches, their pry bars, dead blows. They're all made in the USA. Some of these things Tekton makes in-house. Some of them they pull from other manufacturers, but they're trying to make things in the USA or pull from USA-made distributors as much as they can and more frequently than they could before. So that's one of the things that I do really love about them. And their warranty is amazing. Chase, do you know is Genius Tools any good? Have seen some reviews compared to Mac. I have no experience with that. I can get back to you and I can do a little bit of research and let you know what I find, but I wouldn't be able to give you personal firsthand experience. Thanks, Soul Slinger. We'll look out for that. Yeah, actually, Soul Slinger might know. I mean, he's actually not, he hasn't been a professional for like a week and a half. He's been a professional for many years. So I'm sure he's come across many tools, many weird scenarios. It's not just cars that he knows, but tools as well. And thanks for pulling me out of the ditch again, Soul Slinger. I appreciate you being here, man. James, thanks for the answer. Leaning towards Tekton 3-piece set. Live in Alaska. We'll have to order online, whatever I choose. 3-piece set. I'm not sure which 3-piece set are you. Let me see. Did I miss something? Cover group. It's Tekton 3 pieces. Set. Live in Alaska. We'll have to order online, whatever I choose. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's usually my recommendation though, is Tekton for the sockets, gear wrench for ratcheting wrenches. For fixed combination wrenches, just because like there's no physical mechanism and it's like a solid piece of metal, like the box end you could get almost anywhere for cheap. It's going to be relatively strong. Like if you wanted to get double box end wrenches from anywhere, even Harbor Freight, their cheap set, it's fine for a cheap set. It's like a good throwaway set if somebody needs to borrow your wrenches and you never get them back and it's cheap. it's relatively strong for what you're going to need, that's fine. I would say like the next time that you would really want to spend money on wrenches that are not ratcheting, maybe angled wrenches, maybe wrenches like the Mac ones, the RBRTs, where you can take off a rounded bolt. But straight combination wrenches, you don't really need. The thing that I like about the gear wrench too, let me see if I can pull it up. It is very discreet. I don't know if it will pick up on... You know what? I know what it'll come up on. This is just a generic picture, but it should be able to pull up here. Okay. Maybe this will be easier because we can see the details. Okay, and this is why I also recommend the 90 tooth ratchet and the 120s, is because of this fixed end here. You can see that there's a slight little groove here. This will help increase the grip on the fastener when you need the open end, but not so much that it will damage the fastener. One thing that I don't necessarily like about the Milwaukee hand tools is that they're built very bulky. So wrenches, no, it's not there. Wrench set. I used to have this set and I sold it. And the reason why is because this mechanism, it's really bulky. Like you can see how thick that area is around the ratcheting mechanism. And this is a 24, so it's going to be thick actually. So let's see, what size is that we're comparing it to. This is a 19. It might not really pick up on picture, but it's really thick. The gear wrench is much slimmer. The other thing too is the open end. This will leave marks on your fastener. So this can damage your fastener if you're pulling it off. But from what I've seen, this is a good kind of budget. Like if you wanted to get, I'm actually thinking about getting this set because I like my fixed end with my gear wrench, so I don't necessarily need that, but I would like a closed end. And for that, I am thinking about picking this up for like my rounded bolts if I ever come across it. But I mean, my car is fine. Like I don't have any issues with it. So this is not something that I'm like, I need to get type of thing. It would be like if I'm helping somebody else out and they had rounded off fasteners, like this could be something that I would appreciate if it was on sale. The one thing that I don't like about the Milwaukee is that I would love to trade the 22 for a 24 or even the 20 for a 24. Then I'm all over it. Chase, sounds good. We'll try to do some more looking into them. Okay, right on. Yeah. Hey, it could be a learning experience for both of us too. So any tool brand, like I don't know all the tool brands, right? I'm not as experienced as Soul Slinger. But I mean, I would love to learn about new tools. So if you have anything, if there's something that I missed, please let me know. Soul Slinger, I will send you a text right after this and we'll catch up, man. It's been a while. So thank you everybody who came and hung out today. If you'd like me to cover different topics, please send me a DM on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok at RoomTuber. I hope all of you have a good rest of your day as well as the rest of your week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.